And trying to win favor with black voters, too. The president made a stop in Detroit, Michigan, speaking before the NAACP's annual Fight for Freedom Fund dinner, where he touted his policies that he says benefit the African-American community. Joining me right now, James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley, radio host at 77 WABC Radio and author, also famously Rush Limbaugh's very, very good friend and producer. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Good morning, Adrian. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's get down to the brass tacks. According to the latest polls, Biden is polling in 63% of the black vote. He had 92% of the black vote in 2020, and a lot of people have seen those numbers slip, particularly in light of the immigration issue. Just that one issue alone has caused, especially blacks in, certain neighborhoods, including right here in Chicago, to say that they are going to flip parties in this upcoming election. Should President Biden be concerned?
The Democrat Party and Biden should be very concerned. Look, for black voters, as with all Americans, the real story is not what Joe Biden has done for you, it's what he's done to you. Immigration, 10 million illegal immigrants in this country since Joe Biden took office. Disgraceful. Inflation, out of control. No job growth except really in government sectors. Then you look at the crime. That's also affecting voters in these cities, where Democrat policies have unleashed criminals to terrorize citizens. So yes, they should be very concerned. And for the president, let me say, to go to Morehouse College, Dr. King's alma mater, and claim that half the country does not want black kids to have a future is nothing short of disgraceful. It's race baiting, and it's terrible. It was a terrible thing to say.
Let's actually play a little bit more of what the president said at the Morehouse College in Atlanta's commencement address. Let's take a listen.
Well, that's my commitment to you, to show you democracy, democracy, democracy is still the way. If black men are being killed in the street, we bear witness. For me, that means to call out the poison of white supremacy, to root out systemic racism. I stood up for George Floyd's family to help create a country. We don't need to have that talk with your son or grandson as they get pulled over.
Do you believe that the Democratic Party, and particularly President Biden, need to have perhaps a conversation with the black community and to find out exactly what they are most concerned about approaching November? Or do you believe that they're just completely tone deaf and they're not going to listen to anything?
Have a conversation for what? They don't listen. Look, Joe Biden talks about George Floyd. Why doesn't he talk about the segregationists that he used to pal around with in the Senate? Why doesn't he talk about the fact that he told back in his Senate career, he also railed against sending his kids to quote unquote those jungle schools? So there's a history here. And for this race baiting to continue from Joe Biden, this pandering and racism, look, it's a terrible thing to say that half this country is racist against black people. Most Americans, and I include Democrats and Republicans, the overwhelming majority of the American people are good people. They don't hate anybody. They're not opposed to black people or anyone else advancing. And for this president to actually step on a stage and say that half this country is racist and doesn't want to see black young men and women, college graduates, to have a future in this country, he needs to be called out on it. That's the conversation that needs to happen. This hate speech emanating from the White House against Republicans needs to stop.
And a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republicans would agree with your sentiment. Thank you so much, James Golden. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much, Adrian.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.